Hey audio friends, Graham here from the recordingrevolution.com, and today let's talk about the biggest lie that we tell ourselves in the home studio. Alright, so before we go further, the point of this video is that I understand that you want great sounding songs. I understand that the goal is to get a song that sounds so good that it could be played on the radio. Whether radio exists in the future or you care to be played on the radio, it's more of the quality of the sound of the recording, right? A song that when you play it for your friends, they really think you went to a pro studio and had it done. A song that just sounds so good, you are personally proud of it, that it sounds the way you wished all your music sounded, because it sounds like the way all your favorite songs sound from your favorite artists. I know that that is the goal. That's why the Recording Revolution exists, by the way, because I'm trying to help my friends, and then now you have been included in that, do the same thing that I want. I want the exact same thing. But let me start with a simple story. About 6 years ago, I was tracking a band in Virginia, and we spent about 4 or 5 days tracking a full-length album. And the running joke the entire time we were recording was Graham's phrase was this. We would track something and Graham would say, "Hey, don't worry, we can make it sound good later. Don't worry, we can make it sound better later. Don't worry, I can make it sound better later." I must have said that so often that the band was making fun of me by saying, "Oh, wait, I know what you're going to say, Graham. Don't worry, we can make it sound good later." And that, my friend, is the lie that we tell ourselves. I was telling myself that 6 years ago, and maybe you've told yourself this lie, that whatever you're doing in the moment, whether you're recording, mixing, mastering, songwriting, building out loops and tracks, if you have ever found yourself saying, "It sounds okay, but don't worry, I can make it sound better later," you're telling yourself the biggest lie you could possibly tell yourself. You are setting yourself up for failure. And I know this because this was me. That's why I started with the story. This was the way I thought. I looked at digital recording as this holy grail. The DAW, Pro Tools, Logic, Cubase, Studio One, whatever your software is, that to me was magic. Because what it meant was I could dump anything into it, just record something real quick, and then I can do magic to it later. Like Photoshop. Take a bad photo, do something, make that person look amazing. So that created laziness in me, and that's what it does for you and I. Let's walk this through practically what this looks like, right? In the songwriting phase, you say things like, "Oh, the song is okay, but we can make it better later. I'm sure we'll do something cool in the recording phase to make the song come to life later." Big mistake. In the songwriting phase, you and I need to just write a better song or create a more compelling arrangement of that song that already is engaging, exciting from start to finish. So when you record it, it's done. It just feels amazing. It's a story. It carries the listener through from start to finish. In the recording phase, we might say, "Hey, lay down that guitar tone, or lay down that vocal, lay down those drums. And they sound okay, but we can make them sound better later in the mixing phase." Big mistake, because yes, you can do things to it later, but what you were doing is creating mediocre music by saying, we can make it better in the next stage. You're being lazy in the present stage, and you're not going to see your optimal results. And then we do this in the mixing stage. We mix, and this is really where we're putting the finishing touches on our songs, and yet we still find an excuse to defer completion. We say, the mix is okay, but mastering, we can make it sound better in mastering, which is kind of true, but mastering isn't the holy grail either. Mastering is only as good as the mix it's given, and the best mixes don't need really any mastering or any corrective mastering, right? So we become lazy and we turn out a mediocre mix, banking on the next stage, mastering, to save us. When you get to mastering, you're kind of at the end. If you're self-mastering, you're that's it. If it's the mastering engineer you've hired, or you're using Lander or using eMastered or something, that's pretty much it, because what it spits out is going to be what you release to the world, and there's no more steps with which to defer that music making. So the lie we tell ourselves is that we can make it sound better later, at some later stage of the game. And it only hurts us, and it only hurts you because you won't fulfill your best potential. You can take it back even further. If you are a musician, let's say you're a guitar player, and you don't like the guitar tone you're getting, you could say, I can make it sound better later by getting a new amp or a new guitar or just some EQ or some magical tricks in the mixing phase. Maybe we need to go back to the present stage and just work on finger placement, work on getting the tone right in our hands, being a better performer. It always goes back to an earlier stage if you really want to see results. So here's what I want for you. Wherever you're at, if you're writing a song right now, I want you to stop deferring to the recording phase to make that song sound awesome. I want you to write a killer song and just make it awesome. And if you're recording, I want you to pretend like the mixing phase does not exist. That's what I always try to do these days. I didn't 6 years ago with that band. Clearly, I was so keen on just getting it done fast and we'll just make it sound better later that they made fun of me. That was the running joke for the week. And it's depressing if I think about it. I don't want you to be me from 6 years ago. I want you to think about recording as if there's no mixing phase at all. You got to get it right on recording day. If your drums don't sound good, change something. Retune the drums. Swap out a snare drum. If you don't have that option, change the mic placement. If you don't have that option, tweak the sound in your room. Bring in some more furniture to absorb the sound. Get the drummer to play differently. Change up the monitor mix to the drummer so that he or she hears something different, because that can affect how they play. There's a lot of things you can do, but get the sound to sound right on recording days so there's no mixing needed. If you're mixing, always mix like you're never going to get it mastered, like mastering doesn't exist, because that's laziness to assume that the mastering engineer is supposed to make your song sound good. He or she is not supposed to make your song sound good. You are supposed to make your song sound good. That's what mixing is for, is to put the finishing touches on it. So mix like there's no mastering phase. Always pretend that this is it. This is the final stop. It'll help you fight laziness and it'll help you do your best work. And you can only do what you can do. You know, you're only as good as you are right now, and that's okay. That's a big reason why I'm a fan of doing as much material as you can, completing projects and moving on. Don't drag the season out forever. If you're in the recording phase and it's not sounding good, take more time, but don't take forever. Because at some point you just are only as good as you are. And that's okay, because you get better by finishing projects. But don't tell yourself the lie that, I'll make it sound better later. Make it sound good now, and your songs will thank you for it. Now, I want to hear from you. Leave a comment below this video. Let me know, right below here, if you have ever told yourself that lie. It's okay. You can be honest. I went first. I do this professionally, and I even teach people to do this, and I still find myself telling myself that lie. So it's okay to admit it. Have you made that mistake of saying, I can make this sound better later? And if so, what phase of the process did you make that mistake? What phase of the process do you find yourself making that lie? Is it in the recording phase and you defer to mixing? Or is it in the mixing phase, you defer to mastering? Or is it even earlier in the songwriting and arranging phase where you assume that on recording day will somehow make the song sound better? Leave that comment below. Let's get a conversation started. Let's encourage each other. We're all in this together, and we want the music that we make to sound as good as it possibly can. So it's okay to admit where we're making mistakes. I'm the chief of making mistakes, so I go first. It's all right. Second to that, subscribe to the videos if they're helpful to you. I got new ones coming out, a bunch of new stuff coming in the pipeline. Excited about the new year. But in the meantime, let's get this discussion going. Make some great music. Always do your best work now. Don't defer till later. And I'll see you in another video soon. Take care.